So, here we are back again, and we're on the air with On the Spot. It's Jim Powell, and a lot of people in Johannesburg, if you bought the Saturday Star, you would have seen scorched tree poser for cell phone giant. That's not what it's all about. It's about the general radio waves that's going through. If I take a look at my personal situation, I use a cell phone, I use the portable phone, I've got my computer on Wi-Fi, and I've been picking up information which has made at least myself extremely concerned. We'll be focusing mostly tonight on the cell phone operations, and a lot of you will know that the data transfer, one of the protocols is 3G. And moving over to 4G, it's 3.75, 3.5, etc. And there's some concern of the power of those. But generally, there is no monitoring that I can see that effectively goes on for the overall levels that we as the community is being subjected to. We have 4 people who are in the studio tonight, but before we get through to them, I'd just like to let you know that we have a number of people who decided that it wasn't important to speak to you. And those people are, if I can just get the list together. Sorry about the delay. It's playing a lovely piece of music. It's Chopin. And it's called Requiem, because when people decide that it's not important to speak to you, particularly about things that might affect your health, it affects the ability of you to make informed decisions. And Requiem, in case you didn't know, is actually a funeral march.
So no biases here.
So, the people who have not come along is Gauteng Health, Patricia Mokwena, Media Liaison Officer, no response. Telkom ATA, a brief response, just simply say they're not sending anybody. That is Paini Chetty, Senior Media Specialist. Bridget Bengu of MTN South Africa, Communications, who didn't. And no response. Sorry, we got a response from them very late. Karen Faree sent something of a detail, which I'll read to you just now. But these people, which is Gauteng Health, Telkom ATA, MTN SA, and Cell C, obviously these organisations are much too small to be able to afford to send somebody through. So when you make your purchasing decisions in future, okay, make a decision that they actually didn't want to address the concerns and the health concerns, etc. Let's move now to the people who are in the studio, and on my left.
Hi, I'm Dave McGregor. I'm a local boykie. Grew up in Centurion. I went to Potch Boys High, which I'm not sure if that's a good thing to brag about, but I will anyway. And from there went into motor racing. So motor racing was a passion. Organised the Formula 1 Grand Prix in South Africa in the early 90s. Ran Kyalami for a couple of years, and then went into golf course developments, and really was brought into the foundation in a fundraising role to see whether I could assist the Research Foundation in raising money to fund independent testing equipment to put on an international conference. And before I exit and give the next person a chance, just to say everybody on the foundation is on a no-pay basis. In other words, the funds that I raise are commission-free. This is being done out of interest for the community as opposed to personal interest.
And what would the money be spent on?
On acquiring independent equipment that's needed to monitor what's coming off these towers. Has to be brought in from overseas. It's heckishly expensive given the exchange rate. And also one of the visions of the foundation is to host an international seminar and conference in South Africa with various international guest speakers who can address all of the concerns that have been coming out recently.
Thank you very much. And our second guest.
Hi, Jim. My name's Tracy Lee Dorney. I was actually born and raised originally in Salisbury in Rhodesia, now known as Zimbabwe. I have been in South Africa for probably it's over 25, 30 years now. I originally studied in health and nutrition in South Africa and in Paris, and then went on to fields of marketing, eventing, corporate communications, and then found myself going back into lay studying aspects of homeopathy, etc. And after being seriously affected and exposed by electromagnetic radiation from a WiMAX broadband mast, I went into studying that further and what those impacts are, and working with scientists, learning more as we could to and fully understand actually what is happening and what is actually not coming out to us in South Africa, and went on to form the foundation with several advisors, medical people, lawyers, and business people.
And our third guest.
Yes, Jim. My name is Louis. Sorry. Louis Petersen. Also, I was born and raised in Pretoria. Born in 1967. Done my schooling down in Brits. Then I started off at the old Department of Post and Telecommunications. Today we call it ICASA. We regulate the telecommunications industry. And I've been dealing with interference investigations for the last 25 years, and currently in charge of our monitoring network, where we monitor all the frequencies, the whole frequency spectrum.
Explain what you mean by interference.
Interference, basically, when one company causes interference on another company, and they don't have the means or the equipment to find out where the problem originates from. We do have all the expertise as well as the equipment, so that we can identify where this problem comes from, as well as to rectify the problem.
Okay, so if we just from a point of view of the station, we're on 93.8, and as you move over to the East Rand, then you've got East Rand radio at 93.9, and at some stage one takes over from the other because they're very close.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, right. And sometimes you get a direct clash. I take it what you do is you map out the situation so that everybody has their own airspace, and so that they can actually transmit without interfering with somebody else who's sending out some sort of a radio signal.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah, as long as both parties are licensed. That's
yes.
If the party is not licensed, obviously
they will be closed down.
Yeah, that's
right.
correct.
Okay, thank you for that. And our fourth.
Good evening, Jim. If you try and place the accent, you can't. I don't think. I've spent probably equal thirds of my life in the UK, in the US, now in South Africa. Sorry, my name is Richard Borman. I head up corporate affairs for Vodacom, which encompasses a whole bunch of things. One of them is media relations. The other one, which is thoroughly entertaining, is social media. So I deal with our Twitter and our Facebook accounts. And I can tell you firsthand the concerns that our customers have. And just to, I guess, set the ball rolling here, the two things that they will bring up if you mention their cell phone provider are going to be the quality of the service and the price. And I think today's discussion is hugely important, because it's exactly the unsubstantiated concerns that are being raised that affect both the quality and the price of people's service.
Well, we'll find out how unsubstantiated they are, because could you give us the name of your organisation, please?
Jim, it's the Electromagnetic Radiation Research Foundation of South Africa.
Okay, right. Over on our right from Vodacom, and thank you very much, because you're the only service provider that's come in to actually, so that we can have a debate between the two sides, the commercial side and the health side. So thank you for coming in. Right, give us the information that you've got.
Thank you, Jim. The foundation, their concern is to raise the awareness of what other countries are doing right now into trying to protect their citizens and their public, and the levels that are being put in place in other countries to do that. The industry here in South Africa is very quick to say, we adhere to ICNIP levels, we adhere to World Health Organization levels and advisements, but everybody very quickly was very deaf to the announcement from the World Health Organization last year, when these frequencies were declared carcinogenic,
but they obviously weren't declared carcinogenic.
Hold on. Let her finish. I'll let you come in.
Okay, as possibly carcinogenic. Many countries took cognizance of that and lowered their exposure levels. Just to give you an idea, when South Africa says they adhere to, and all other countries adhere to other, these levels, we've got other countries that are following what they call the Bio-Initiative report and levels. And I'm going to talk in volts per meter because I understand that better. And Louis, coming from the industry, would probably talk in something else. But, we've got countries that are adhering, like New South Wales adheres to 0.06 as a maximum in a person's home. We've got Salzburg, Austria, that adheres to 0.02 volts per meter as a maximum in somebody's home. And then we have the industry in South Africa that says, no, it's fine. We're going to stay with ICNIP at 58 volts per meter. So anything up to there, we feel, is fine and no problem. And we're just concerned after the foundation was formed, or even in fact before it was formed, reports had actually come in. I'd been exposed, and the calls I got after our story came out was just amazing, of people who had been saying, we've been exposed, we've been affected, we've had to leave our homes. We've got heartbreaking stories of people who've moved 3 times, of people who can't even come and live in the cities, who are living in isolation, where they feel they can cope with the fields, or they've found where there absolutely isn't a field in certain areas.
There's a description for a person who is particularly sensitive. What is it?
Well, it's electrosensitive, but we need to look back at that, because what was called microwave sickness years ago, going way back into the 60s and the 70s, is actually what the same symptoms are happening now when you say electrosensitive. So it depends. What is a person's tipping edge? Will it be that new antenna going up next to their house on the cell mast? Maybe they've lived there for a year or 2 and they've been okay. But when does it become the tipping edge? When is enough? When are there enough masts? When are there enough transmissions coming off a single mast?
And the problem is now that there's no monitoring. The health department isn't climbing in and saying, we need to find out.
No, the Department of Health is totally ignoring any complaints. We've addressed and made points to speak to the Department of Health and ask them to investigate matters, and they're totally ignoring them.
Okay. Now, you mentioned an organisation. You gave the initials. What does it stand for?
Which organisation?
ICNIP?
ICNIP, yes. This is the International Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection Commission, and even in their papers, I just want to actually, they always quote them, but they've actually come out and said that they're not the last word for industry. The industry must not hide behind them. There's new scientific material. They must take cognizance of that. And the Department of Health always actually quotes 1998 ICNIP levels. And if you just give me a moment, because I want to say exactly what it says in those ICNIP levels. But basically what it says, sorry if I won't get to them, but I'll tell you now. I'm just looking for those ICNIP. But what it says is they must
I'll
take
tell you what,
cognizance.
let's just take a couple of adverts.
Yes.
Okay, take a look at your information.
Yes.
And I'll come back to you, and then we can have it backwards and forwards with everybody within the studio.
Okay.
Just give me a couple of moments to prepare it.